Whew, okay. It was really wet outside. It's been raining, even though it's summery, it's raining. So Louie and I wanted to come in and share a couple of thoughts with you. I'm really glad you're here. Actually, he's gonna hop down, I guess. He wants to come be in the video. I'm not sure if you can see him or not. You're a good boy. You're a good boy. Listen, what if it's really true? What if it is your birth, not your behavior, that determines who you really are? It doesn't just define you in God's eyes. It actually causes you to be who you are. Your birth, not your behavior. Your behavior does not determine who you are, but your birth does. So when I was born in Adam, I was of Adam. And having been reborn in Christ, I am now of God as Christ is of God. You and I in Christ are no less of God than Christ himself. The difference is what is true of Jesus by merit is true of you and I by grace. Isn't that amazing? What is true of Jesus Christ by his own begotten authority and righteousness and holiness, what is true of him by his eternal and unchanging nature is now true of us by grace and our new creation nature as saints and sons of God with Jesus. What if it's true? What if it's actually true of you that you are who you are because of your birth as a child of God, not because of your behavior when you act like it or don't act like it? Just imagine the significance of it. It means that being born in Christ, your behavior doesn't determine your righteousness. If you behave righteously, it doesn't make you any more righteous than you already are. And if you behave unrighteously, it makes you no less righteous because your behavior doesn't determine who you are. It doesn't determine what is true of you. There might be consequences in the temporal, but it doesn't change who you are. What you do, behaving righteously or unrighteously, does not make you any more righteous or any less righteous because you're already righteous. Before that behavior, you're already righteous in Christ. He's already made you that way, so your behaving that way or not behaving that way is being true to yourself or untrue to yourself, but it's not changing yourself. Isn't that awesome? If it's true that you are who you are by birth, not behavior, then your righteousness is not caused by your behavior, but your birth. Now that also means that you will never be more righteous or holy. You will never be more secure or significant. You will never be more empowered or cherished than you already are. Nothing you do by your behavior can add to what is already true of you in Christ. So our motive for righteous living is our identity as being righteous saints. In other words, it's true of us. It's compatible with us. It's what we most deeply desire. But nothing that I do will ever add to my righteousness, holiness, security, significance, empowerment, cherishedness, or treasurability to God. You cannot increase or decrease what is true of you in Christ by your behavior. Now I want you to think about that for just a second. Take just a moment. Where you are right now, in this moment, if you have accepted Christ and he has taken up residence in you, you are born again as something else, a new creation. And what is true of Christ by merit is true of you by grace as that new creation self. So you will never be more holy than he has already made you by grace. You will never be more righteous than he has already made you by grace. You will never be more secure than you are right now with the Father. You will never be more significant than you are right now with him. You may feel more that way. And in fact, as you mature and you increasingly recognize in any circumstance God as your source, you can increasingly experience what is true of you, but it is no more true of you as you mature than it is now, any more than my child when she was born didn't quite have 10 fingers and toes and now does have 10 fingers and toes. No, she was born complete. and now she's much more mature, she's much more grown up, she's much more independent of me, but she's much more competent. She's experiencing more of what she's designed to be able to do, but she's no more complete than she was the day she was born. Sometimes I will act like who I am, sometimes I won't, but my behavior doesn't determine my identity. My birth determines my identity. Once you are in Christ, you are completely and totally His. What's true of Him is true of you. It will never be more true. You will never be more holy, but you might act more like who you are. Isn't that awesome? Listen to this. Loved and loving, accepted and accepting, forgiven and forgiving, empowered and encouraging, cherished and cherishing. This is who you already are in Christ. It is already true of you. You are already by nature a forgiving person, an empowering person, a loving person, an edifying person. That's who you are, because that's who Christ is in you, and how He will do those things, how He will express His life through you will be unique to you, but it doesn't change who He is in you. It changes who you are with Him in you and you in Him, and it's already changed who you are when He took up residence in you. So there's a unique expression of the fullness of Christ, but it's no less the fullness of Christ. It's just a unique expression in finite circumstances and personalities and opportunities and giftings of each individual. But it's the fullness of Christ expressed uniquely in in each of our temporal and limited opportunities and experiences and personalities. Fullness of Christ expressed. So completely forgiven and completely forgiving, completely loved and completely loving, completely cherished and completely cherishing of others. That is who you are. And our maturity doesn't make us more of who we are. It just allows us to experience and express the reality of who we are more frequently, more consistently. That who we are in Christ becomes increasingly evident to both you as you walk with Him and to others as He produces fruit in your life. But the fruit is the byproduct of the relationship and identity that is already true of you. Nope, you will not become more Christ-like by behaving more Christ-like. Your effort to be like Him will never make you more like Him. He's already made you a new creation that is like Him, but you can increasingly look and feel and respond and think and feel, if I didn't already say that, like Him. That's maturity. That's experiencing what's already true. That's growing up. The acorn and the oak have the same DNA. The acorn grows up into the oak. It doesn't become more oaky. It just grows up as what it already is. And we can see that it is the acorn of the oak before you see the shadow of the oak tree fully grown. But it hasn't changed its nature. It's just grown up naturally, organically, as what it is. That's you and I in Christ. We might be babes in Christ that rarely experience the fullness of Christ in a way that's tangible to us, but we aren't lacking anything of Him, and He's not withholding anything of Himself from us. We are fully formed as His and increasingly growing up as who we are in Him. So here's the deal. As you and I increasingly are convinced of what we believe is true about Christ, then we'll be increasingly convinced of who we are because of what He's done. It is not what you do or have done or will potentially do that will ever define you or add anything or detract anything from who you are, but what Christ has already done. And that being true, then as I increasingly am convinced of what I already know to be true, as I increasingly come to take hold of the truth that's already taken hold of me in the person of Jesus Christ, as that truth becomes increasingly real in my belief, then I will increasingly experience His holiness as my holiness, His righteousness as my righteousness. Not because it becomes more true, but because as I believe it, I can increasingly experience it. I cannot live out something that I don't fully believe. If I don't believe it, I won't ever act like it's true, even if it is. If I know it's going to rain, I'm going to act like it's going to rain. If I know it's 5 p.m., I'm going to act like it's 5 p.m. If I know that my wife loves me, I'm going to act like my wife loves me. If I don't know that it's going to rain, or I don't know it's 5 p.m., or I don't know that my wife loves me, there's absolutely no chance that I will act like those things are true, even when they are. It is 5 p.m. It is going to rain. My wife does love me, and if I believe the opposite of those things, I'm going to act, live, express, experience the lie as if it is true. But as I believe the truth, then I will experience the truth that only Christ can accomplish in his life in and through me, because it is who I am and it's who you are. What love that he's lavished upon us, that he would call us his own children. And that is in fact what you today already fully are, and increasingly being convinced of the reality of his finished work and the sufficiency of his grace for who you are in Christ. Walk in that, meditate on that, think about it, share your questions. If you're watching this anywhere besides at MikeQDaniel.com, then sign up for the email distribution so that you get these yourself and can share your questions, share your thoughts in the form below this video, and I can't wait to share with you again. I'll see you soon. Thanks. Let's go dry out.